At best, being an apostle of Jesus was amazing. New ideas, creative people, important politicians, plenty of parties. At its worst, dangerous, without a doubt. Somewhere towards the end, it made me a little paranoid. We weren't sure who Jesus was, which made it unclear who we were. And that was dangerous, without a doubt.
The Jews expected the Messiah would live forever and never suffer death. So when Jesus began to speak openly about his coming death, confusion followed. What they didn't yet understand was that their expectation wasn't entirely wrong, just incomplete.
Our friend Lazarus had died. After waiting 4 days, Jesus concluded it was time to go to him. We were walking into enemy territory. Very dangerous. Very paranoid. We mere apostles were not excited about going. The other 11 gave me a questioning look, and I just... Let us also go, that we may die with him. In for a dime, in for a dollar. From before my time, the Jewish teachers had concluded that God intended to send someone who could save us. Someone who would be a savior for the Jewish people. King of the Jews that would deliver us from the Roman Empire. And although there was never an official position about this deliverer, a handful of characteristics were commonly assumed to be true about this Savior King, or Messiah. He was to be a man anointed by God to be the King of the Jews. He would institute an influential kingdom like the kingdom of David. He would be a descendant of David. He would be a prophet. He would do miracles and healings, and he would be a great teacher and interpret the Torah with righteousness and justice. And last but far from least, he would live forever. You could see why the common people of Israel kept wondering if this Jesus was their promised Messiah. A lot of tie-ins. The New Testament writers write of many of the characteristics the Jews of Jesus' time expected the Messiah to have. These writers also showed how Jesus fulfilled those characteristics, clarified them, greatly exceeded them. In the Hebrew language, Messiah is an anointed one. The Jewish kings of centuries past had been anointed. Think Saul being anointed by the prophet Samuel. David being anointed in secret by the same prophet. Later, David was anointed king over all Israel by the elders of Israel. We understand anointed one. The Jews of Jesus' time were expecting the Messiah to be a king. And Jesus didn't look much like a king. But the people remembered that David didn't look much like a king when he was anointed as a teenage shepherd. But then, one day, that changed. Jesus came riding into Jerusalem on a donkey. In ancient times, riding a donkey was considered a symbol of peace and humility. It signified a king who came not to conquer by military force, but to bring peace and righteousness, which is why many Jewish kings, including Solomon, are described as entering Jerusalem on a donkey. So, Jesus rides into Jerusalem on a donkey, and the symbolism is not lost on any of us. Being in the Kidron Valley that day was not much different than being in a professional football stadium on a Sunday afternoon. Tens of thousands of people lining the steep sides, hundreds of yards of visibility, smell of food in the air. The excitement was electric. Passover was coming, and people from all over the world had come to Jerusalem to celebrate. Each person knew the players, even though the only program was the Old Testament. And as if on cue, Jesus comes over the side of the Mount of Olives and rides down the steep path on a donkey colt. I mean, the crowd explodes. They wave palm branches and shout louder and louder and louder. Shout, "Daughter Jerusalem, see your king comes to you, righteous and victorious, lowly, riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey." Zechariah, the great prophet, had given this graphic description. And here it was, playing out right before our eyes. We were smiling. I mean, we were laughing, all of us disciples. Our time had come. We were about to sit at the right hand of the King. We'll be at a banquet in a day or two, no doubt. That's what we thought. The noise died down, and the whispers started. Could Jesus be the Messiah? After all this time, is the Messiah finally here? Lazarus, through all the noise and commotion repeated through thousands of mouths, you could hear the name Lazarus. Jesus had raised Lazarus from the dead only a few miles from where we were. Blind, leper, lame started leaking through. One person shouts, "Nicodemus!" A hush falls on the crowd. Even the great teacher of Israel acknowledged that Jesus did signs and miracles. King does miracles, great works, starting to sound a lot like Messiah. Then someone shouts, "He's from Nazareth of Galilee." Pin drop silence. Nothing good comes from Nazareth. Besides, the Messiah will come from Bethlehem. Even King Herod learned that. Another person shouts, "His father paid taxes in Bethlehem." And the crowd roars. He must be related to David. Looking more and more like Messiah. We hear, "Torah, what about Torah?" And the stories start circulating about his sermons in front of thousands, about his confrontations with Pharisees and Sadducees and the other leaders about religious matters, how he confounds them with his questions and answers. He's a great teacher and truth teller, just like Moses. He interprets Torah correctly and lives out his interpretations with integrity. Money changers and corrupt priests overturn tables and whips. The crowd laughs hysterically about Jesus overturning the tables of the money changers. He was cleansing the temple of corruption and making it into a place of worship for the one true God. Boxes. He is checking the Messiah boxes one by one. As he rides towards Jerusalem, the crowd and we disciples have a very clear expectation of what happens next. Jesus is going to go into Jerusalem, spend a few days expounding on the scriptures. Then he will boot out the corrupt priests and Sadducees and purify the temple. After 7, maybe 40 days of feasting and rejoicing, he'll kick the Romans out of Jerusalem, out of Israel, and reestablish David's kingdom. We'll all live forever, feasting, living on our own lands, with our own temple, our own king. All of the people in the valley, including the whole 12 disciples, were on board. No doubt about it. Nothing could possibly go wrong from here. That's what we thought.